Welcome to another edition of Focus on Alternatives, brought to you by ADISA, the Alternative and Direct Investment Securities Association. For more content like this, please visit adisa.org and check out the resource library. My name is Greg Mausz. I'm your host today. I'm joined by Kevin Brennan. He is the Executive Vice President of Equity Services at Computershare. Kevin, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
So we're going to be talking alternative investments. We're going to be talking operations, but let's start with some definitions here. Can you tell us what a transfer agent is, what they do, and who are the major players out there?
Sure. In the public markets, it's fairly simple process. It's doing things like record keeping, paying dividends, tax reporting, handling annual meetings. It gets a little more complex in the alternative markets, right? Where we're basically having to connect with third parties, multiple third parties, right? Passing information back and forth, doing things like paying commissions and trailing commissions to the selling broker-dealer firms and the individuals, right? And like I said, connecting with many of these subscription providers, the likes of an iCapital and, a Plus Subscribe, Case. So a lot of technology going back and forth between organizations. So a much more complex environment. In the public markets, the field is made up between of ourselves, EQ Shareowner Services and Broadridge. In the alternative investment markets, it's Computershare, SS&C, Phoenix American, Great Lakes, and many others.
A lot of different players there. That's good to know. What's the difference between a custodian and a transfer agent, or are they the same thing?
No, very different. So the transfer agent, we obviously are keeping the records for all the individual accounts that will often have a custodian at the top that owns the relationship, right? So we're keeping the records, but ultimately the custodian is has a fiduciary responsibility for handling those records, processing transactions like redemptions, right? Taking in instructions from the end investor. We're communicating back to the custodian all that information, but they're the ones that are responsible for producing statements, tax reporting, all of the end communications, and processing transactions. They own the relationship, not the transfer agent.
Got it. But transfer agent is a key backbone place for the sponsor and for the investment offering. So tell me this, you get to see a lot of different sponsors, a lot of different structures. What kind of trends are you seeing these days?
We're seeing, I'd say, four major trends, right? One that's interesting, since we're in both the public transfer agent space and the alternative investment, is we're seeing many of our investment management and asset manager clients that are public coming to the private markets, the alternative investment markets.
Coming to the retail channel.
Yes.
Main Street.
Introducing their first, privately traded REIT or BDC or interval funds, right? So we're seeing them as new entrants into the market, which is nice to have that audience, right? But we're also seeing a big shift towards interval funds and things like DSTs, right? Big shift there. We're also seeing some of our clients and prospective clients going to the public markets, right? So those are just a few of the trends that we're seeing in the alternative investment space.
So with these trends and lots of moving parts, lots of structures, lots of actually innovation that's going on, how do transfer agents adapt to all this change?
It is interesting. So, technology is the core to what we do. In the public space, it is a very mature market where we have, established interactions with third parties like DTC, right? And the likes. In the alternative investment market, it just seems a bit like there's a lot of competition right now to be that central repository. So when we're working with an alternative investment sponsor, we're required to connect with a lot of the third parties, right? And that takes process and investment. We're doing those things. We see our competitors doing those things, but there is a lot of competition to, be connected with the right players.
It is. And there's more different technology platforms out there. And everybody's trying to solve a good problem, trying to solve transparency, trying to solve reporting, trying to solve billing. So it's a lot of good work that's going on, but you're right. There's a lot of different people trying to tackle it. So how are you interacting with all of these different technology platforms?
Yep. Well, technology is really a core of Computershare's background. How we were founded was as a technology company, right? And providing the markets with the needs, the backbone and infrastructure. So we've invested a lot to make sure that we have the right connectivity with data aggregators, the repositories that I mentioned early on that are doing a lot of the subscription and kind of acting as the central place for like our RIAs as the central place for their alternative investments and all the information feed that takes place between the organizations. So we are investing in that technology, and we see our competitors doing the same thing, all the other providers in this space.
So let's continue going down that road, investing in technology. I know that AI stands for alternative investments, but it also stands for artificial intelligence. How are you seeing that play out in the transfer agent world?
Well, I'd first kind of back up and say we saw in the public transfer agency space and see it in the alternative investment, a lot of friction just being able to do normal routine work, like a change of ownership. We're right now on a multi-year journey to digitize that whole process, whereby somebody coming in to do business with us, change of ownership, simple as that, right, has the ability to build their own digital passport on our platform. So we're trying to take that friction out, get it over with one time. The next time they come back to our organization, all their paperwork is in place. They don't have to provide the same paperwork over and over again. And then things like artificial intelligence, advanced technologies, we've implemented where we service the financial advisors like we do with the investors, right, in the core public place, right? We've put that technology in place to gauge sentiment analysis with people that are doing business with us as they come into our call centers, right? Whether it be an FA or an end investor, we're gauging their satisfaction with our service. We're also gauging, how we enhance the training of the individual that's taking that phone call, right? Or even the tools that we provide to them. So we're constantly looking at technology to advance how we service our stakeholders.
And that's a good theme and a major theme. It's servicing the investors. And also servicing the advisors so they can help service the investors. So I'm glad that that's a focus for you. It needs to be a focus for the entire industry. Let me also ask you about blockchain. Is that going to be integrated in to kind of keep track of all these records?
We're cautiously looking at that as something that can advance our product, but it is something that's on our radar as could be potential help for how we service in the alternative investment space as well as the core public space.
Many programs are evolving, and they may start off as private, and then they list or merge or do some type of public registration. What role does the transfer agent play in all this kind of evolution or life cycle of an alternative investment?
Great observation. We've seen a lot of our clients and potential clients looking to come to the public markets, right? And working with the transfer agent, and we're in a fortunate position to service both those markets, right? Working with a transfer agent that can basically take the history from when they were privately traded, so all of that financial advisor and custodial information, right? And bridge that history gap as they go to the public markets. Make sure that they're working with an organization that has the history prior to being public and then post being public. That's a key to servicing, right? And then I think another important point, and Computershare is fortunate to be in a position, once in the public market, there's a lot of other issuer services needs. There's entity compliance for all the places that they're doing business around the country, around the globe, right? They're going to have annual meeting services needs like proxy solicitation. If they're looking to raise capital in the debt markets, right? Working with an organization that potentially has those services all under one roof, and even employee plan awards. As they go public, if they're going to issue restricted stock awards or provide an ESPP for employees to buy their own stock, the public market stock, they could have that all in one place. And we're in a fortunate position to be able to provide those services.
Yeah, you are, but man, that's a lot of moving parts. But I mean, it's a complex world out there. And again, a transfer agent is just critical backbone for keeping up with all of the investors and transaction records for a company's capital stack. So Kevin, thank you for walking us through that and shedding some light on the roles of transfer agents and how things are operating these days. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here today, Greg.
And thank you for watching another episode of Focus on Alternatives. Again, for more content like this, please visit adisa.org. Thank you.